Welcome back to the Motorsport Chat. I'm Natalie.
I'm Liv.
And I'm Darcy.
In the motorsport news, last week, World Rally Championship driver Craig Breen passed away at 33 after a pre-event crash before the 2023 Croatia Rally.
The Hyundai team principal Cyril Abiteboul has since said that following his death, we thought long and hard about how to do this and how best to honour Craig. To this end, we are contesting the event with 2 cars, both running with a special livery to honour Craig, his Irish roots and his beloved Irish family rally community. Hyundai and the FIA are currently reviewing all aspects of the crash.
The brand new all-female single-seater series F1 Academy will begin next weekend in Spielberg in Austria at the Red Bull Ring.
Each weekend will consist of 2 free practice sessions of 40 minutes each, followed by 2 qualifying sessions of each 15 minutes. Race 1 and 3 will be 30 minutes long and award 25 points to the winner, while race 2 will be slightly shorter than 20 minutes and offer 10 points.
The first qualifying session will set the grid for race 1, whilst the second will set the order for race 3, and the drivers who achieve pole position in each of these sessions will receive 2 points.
Race 2's grid will be set by reversing the top 8 drivers from qualifying 1, with 9th and below lining up in the positions they qualified in.
Formula 1 drivers are backing the move to make the sprint races stand-alone events.
Many of the drivers have said that they like the idea of splitting the 2 events so that an incident in qualifying for the sprint or in the sprint itself does not compromise them for the Grand Prix.
These revised rules are set to be formally approved next week and then used in Azerbaijan, the venue for the first of this season's 6 sprint race events.
Before the F1 Easter break, we saw the Australian Grand Prix, a chaotic race where it was hard to keep count of the amount of race starts we witnessed.
Definitely. Melbourne certainly provided a race to remember that left many fans glad that they woke up to watch the race live. Carlos Sainz was not too happy after the race as he was given a penalty that would mean he was out of the points.
Sainz was set to finish 4th and hit Alonso on the final standing restart, but the race was once again stopped just seconds later thanks to multiple crashes elsewhere. And as per the rules, the race order was reset to what was before the red flag, minus the cars that crashed out.
However, the stewards proceeded to penalise Sainz for the collision, even though the incident technically never happened, with Alonso retaining his 3rd place.
Ferrari has since appealed this penalty, however, were dismissed despite putting forward new evidence to support their appeal.
Formula E is back this weekend with the Berlin E-Prix. As well as the race, this weekend will host the rookie test with some drivers' names taking part that you might recognise, like ex-driver, F1 driver Daniel Kvyat, F1 reserve driver Felipe Drugovich.
F1 will return next week after a longer break than fans are used to, as the Chinese Grand Prix was cancelled due to ongoing difficulties with COVID in China. Next weekend, the F1 circuit will return to Baku. Baku has become a fan favourite track by providing action-packed races with various different race winners and different faces on the podium.
Darcy is going to give us an in-depth look at the Baku City Circuit.
Yes, thank you for that. Next weekend we will be back in Baku for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, but this year will be slightly different as we are getting our first sprint qualifying of the year. The Baku City Circuit has 20 turns, 8 to the right and 12 to the left, and has 2 DRS zones. The race will run over 51 laps, with Charles Leclerc setting the lap record with a 1:43.009 in 2019. The sprint qualifying will take place at 2:30 on Saturday afternoon, with the race starting at 12 p.m. on Sunday. F1 will be sharing the track with F2 this weekend for the 4th round of the FIA Formula 2 Championship, where Ayumu Iwasa is currently first in the standings. Last year's Azerbaijan Grand Prix saw Red Bull take home a 1-2, with Mercedes in 3rd and 4th. Both Ferraris DNF'd early in the race, despite Leclerc starting on pole position. We've got a standard street circuit on our hands with long straights and tight corners, and I think we could see a standard Red Bull domination through the streets of Baku. Back to you on the sofa.
Yeah. So last year we had quite a busy race, really.
Yeah.
There was a lot going on. Of course, it was Leclerc on pole, put in quite a good lap with a 1:41.349, followed by Perez qualifying second and Verstappen in third. Now, compared to the rest of the season, that was quite a bad qualifying position for Verstappen.
It was. Yeah.
But then, of course, at the beginning of the race, Leclerc was on pole and then he locked up, leading Perez to get the lead into turn 1. The race was pretty shocking for Ferrari, really.
Yeah, it was. It
both
really was.
Ferraris retired, Sainz on lap 9, and Leclerc retired on lap 19 with an engine failure. Yeah. Not great. Whether it'll be a similar situation this year, because it seems like reliability hasn't been as much of an issue this year as it was last year.
Yeah.
But you never know. With a track like Baku that really tests the cars, you never know what we could see. We also had Vettel attempting an overtake on Ocon last year, but then he overjudged the braking and ended up going into the runoff area, and then he spun, but it was quite an iconic spin. Everyone loved it because it was very smooth. And then Tsunoda snapping his rear wing, and then them getting duct tape and putting it back together. Very questionable. I don't know how
they got away with it.
They got away with it.
No idea.
I'm pretty sure if Mercedes tried that,
it would be
everyone would have dragged them down for it,
Exactly.
and they would just never have done well with that.
No.
But in the end, it was Verstappen who managed to get the lead, followed by Perez, and then Russell managed to get on the podium as well, which was great for Mercedes last year. But it seems like this year they have picked up the pace a bit compared to the first few races.
Yeah.
Obviously, with Hamilton getting on the podium last race, he got P2.
He did,
which
very
was
well done. It was a good race.
Yeah. Looked like Russell could have possibly even got the win last race.
Yes, that's very true.
He took the lead at turn 1. The Mercs looked very strong at the beginning of the race.
Yeah, they did, but then kind of backed off slightly.
It seemed like they were getting good traction on the exit of the corners at the beginning of the race. But obviously, once the Red Bulls get ahead, they fly away with it, and there's no way they can really catch up. Alonso once again on the podium. It's his third podium of the season. Can he get a fourth in Baku?
Who knows? He might even get a win.
Oh, bold prediction.
I think he could do it.
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
So far, it's been that Verstappen won the first race.
Yep.
Perez won the second race, and then Verstappen won the third race. So, will it go in order, and will Perez win the next race? Or can we see a new race winner? Or maybe the Mercs have really picked up the pace and could get there? Who knows? Yep. And then also for Baku, there's going to be some updates.
There is, yes, quite a few updates.
So McLaren are bringing what they call a B-spec car. So we don't know exactly what they're bringing.
Who knows what that even means.
What that actually entails.
No.
It'll be interesting to see how far they can actually make it up the grid.
Yeah. I think I want to see them do better.
Yeah. I mean, they got in the points in Australia, but
it was...
I mean, half the grid DNF, so it's not really that much
it was
hard to get in the points anyway. Alpine have also said they're getting an update, but not specified what the update is exactly. Will there be a different team dynamic now that both cars crashed in Australia?
I don't know. I'm sure they had a good talking to, I would think, after the briefing.
Who do you think was at fault?
I don't really...
Was Ocon blaming Gasly? Was that
I think they were... Yeah. But I don't really know. I think it was a mix.
I wonder if it'll change how they...
I don't know.
I don't know. Anyway, Mercedes are also bringing an update, saying they're making the car more drivable.
Yeah.
They're updating the suspension components to help the underlying balance of the car, which is something they've previously struggled with. It doesn't seem like poison's an issue for them anymore.
No, I haven't really
But last year, Baku was really a bad track for poison.
Yeah.
As we could see, was it Hamilton got out the car? Was that the race when he was touching his back?
I think so.
Well, it looked
Could be wrong,
pretty painful regardless. And then Ferrari are also going to bring some updates with downwash side pods. Which downwashed is not something I've ever heard in F1 before.
I wonder what they're going to look like. Whether they're going to be
downwash
big or
side pods. I presume that means the reducing the size, maybe.
I don't know. We'll have to see. We will see.
And they're also bringing a new diffuser.
Yes.
So, yeah, who knows what that means. But in terms of podium positions, what are your predictions?
I think Perez will be up there because he just does so well in street circuits. Probably, I think it's just going to be the same as the past few races.
Yeah.
Perez, Verstappen, Alonso.
Yeah, 51 laps. Darcy, who do you think is going to be on the podium?
Well, I mean, I think like Liv said, Alonso, we could, see a win. I don't think it'll be in Baku, but I do think we'll see an Alonso win this year. I think obviously there's lots of long straights and Mercedes were really struggling with that last year, but this year they seem to have sorted it all out. So I reckon we could see a Mercedes podium. Not sure which one it'll be, but I reckon there will be one in there. And then, Red Bull's out front, I think, again, definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
I think we'll see Red Bull run away with it. I think...
Yeah, always.
I reckon it could be a Perez win. I think it'll be Red Bull top 2 again. And then whether it'll be, I don't know, Hamilton or Russell on the podium. Russell did look like he could get the win in Australia, but obviously the car.
Yeah,
there's nothing he can do if the car has some sort of failure or a power unit failure. But then Hamilton, P2 last race.
I think he could actually...
Could he possibly get a win?
Yeah.
I saw a statistic the other day, and the amount of days he's gone without a win is pretty astounding. Considering he's 7-time world champion. Have you seen some of the videos of people saying
he's got an
8-time world champion? Lando Norris said it on a live stream.
Yeah. Even Christian Horner said it.
Yeah.
And it's crazy.
So whether you want to call him 7 or 8-time world champion,
it's up to you,
who knows? But
who knows?
whether he can get a win, who knows? But there seems to be new faces on the podium at Baku every year. So who knows? We could even have a midfield team make it on there.
You never know.
You never
McLaren
know.
Could be
McLaren. Possibly. Well, depending on how much these updates can bring, we've seen before in the past that updates can really make a difference. I think Alpine brought updates halfway through last season and they really climbed up the grid and made a lot of improvement. So
definitely.
I mean, I was definitely holding out for an Alpine podium in Australia, but that didn't happen. So maybe we'll see. There could be one in Baku.
Definitely. Will be interesting to see. Obviously, I'm still so impressed with Aston Martin.
Oh, it's crazy.
Who expected them to be on the podium each race this season? I mean, they have got a pretty identical car to Red Bull.
Yeah.
But regardless, they've done well to make such an improvement. And consistency, like reliability, has been great for them. So, obviously, Australia was a chaotic race. Will we see that again in Baku? It always brings something crazy happens usually, whether it was Leclerc's engine blowing and loads of smoke coming out on the straight last year or the year before when Verstappen went into the barrier and had quite a bad crash wasn't it? When he hit the barrier twice. Can we see something like that? Obviously, in Australia, there was a huge crash at the second restart, where how many cars were out? Too many to count, really.
I think in the end it was like
crazy.
8 cars DNF'd, which is just absolutely crazy. Like when you watch the final restart, there's so many places to look because there's so many different things happening. Honestly, I had to watch that restart a few times to comprehend what had actually happened.
Oh yeah. Definitely. Who was it at the back of the grid? I think it was an AlphaTauri and a Williams, I want to say.
I think it was definitely Logan Sargent.
Was it Sargent?
Yeah.
But I couldn't remember if it was Snowden or DeVries.
Yeah.
But they collided at the back, which is something I didn't hear anyone else mention. But if you watch the second restart, you can see that happening in the back, which is another set of cars out. And then obviously both Alpines with the controversial little crash going on at the end. The Carlos Sainz hitting Alonso, and many more.
Yeah, it's such an unfair
so
penalty
many.
for Sainz though to get that, because when you
definitely.
actually look at it, that lap didn't actually count, so he's penalised for something that technically didn't happen because the order of the grid got reset anyway. So it's, I mean, Ferrari appealed, the FIA were like, no, we're not accepting that, which is quite unfair, I think, to be honest.
Yeah.
I agree. So I think if that lap happened on like lap 1, for example, they would have just said racing incident, not an issue.
Exactly.
The fact it happened on a restart, I think, in a way, should a restart have the same, if not very similar, rules to a lap 1 crash? In my opinion, I think it should be treated in a similar way, because if there's 20, maybe less than 20 at that stage of the race, but say 18 cars going towards one corner, all braking at different points with cold tyres, something's possibly going to happen and it's out of their control. Some people were saying that if he's got cold tyres, well, the rest of the grid have to deal with cold tyres, but sometimes it's not in their control in that aspect. So who knows what we'll see next week in Baku. Well, that's all we have time for today. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time for another episode. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
Goodbye.